Today I'm going to be talking about the new pedals from Paul Reed Smith Guitars. Now, what's interesting is that they have very strange names. And, I guess when they called me and said, hey, we have new pedals, you want to check them out? I was like, sure. But when they showed up and I opened them, I was like, this is very strange. So I'm going to go through these because this is different, and mostly because I want to give you guys just an accurate assessment of the things I've noticed about the pedals, things that might be interesting, especially these are new to the market, and a lot of you will not have a chance to try these right away. So I'll give you some information, what I've been able to figure out playing them and checking them out. So you have three pedals in this series. You have the optical compressor called Mary Cries. Yeah, that's the name. And then you have a dual flanger, analog dual flanger, called The Wind Through the Trees. I like that name, but it's a little different. But then you have an overdrive called Horse Meat. I don't even know horse meat. Okay, so I'll go through what I think is going on. First of all, I think horse meat is a reference. At first I thought maybe it was a reference to Four Horsemen. I was like, okay, maybe it's a reference to Metallica or something like that, overdrive. But I think what they're doing, because I see transparent overdrive and of course playing it, I think what they're trying to say is it's kind of like a Klon Centaur pedal. Get it? Centaur is like half man, half horse. Horse meat. Maybe instead of horse man, it's horse meat. Anyways, maybe it's just clickbait for social media, because let's face it, these names are going to they're going to end up on the forums. So maybe that was the goal. So maybe it's to get all the forum people riled up so that they talk about their products. But besides the hype and that, I want to get into the nitty gritty. So the things that are important is this. You have the optical compressor at $220. You have the flanger at $350. The overdrive is at $250. They all say assembled in the US, which I think is more accurate than saying made in the USA. A lot of pedals say made in the USA, when of course, in fact, they are just assembled here from mostly imported boards and stuff. These are through boards. These are not wave soldered. I don't really care about that. I just want you to be aware that they are using like a component through soldered to the board kind of construction. And maybe that's where some of the prices, besides being assembled in the USA, maybe that's where the pricing comes from. Looks wise, I actually like the way they look. One thing I like is that the lines are not just printed on there, but they're printed with like a three-dimensional feel, including the lettering. Feels really nice. And you can see the PRS logo here with the bird, and it looks like it's the wing extended out from the bird. So I think that's what this is these waves that look like sine waves are actually bird wings. Like, that's what it looks like. But one negative of the pedals is very, very easy. These pedals have a very 2009 look to them, in the idea that they are very large. This is a very big footprint. Of course, the dual flanger is a large pedal, and a lot of those type pedals, those dual flangers, bigger flangers, are large like this. But the overdrive and the compressor are definitely large, and I don't mean compared to mini pedals. I mean compared to just a standard Keeley, JHS, or Boss shaped pedal. These are definitely kind of dated for the size that they are, so you got to really want them to put them on your board for a lot of players because they're big. The positive though is I think it was really thought out why these three. I think they have a lot of purpose together, synergy, so to speak. But more importantly, let's get into the first one. Right now I'm running my Delos, which is like a Strat style guitar with two humbuckers, but I am coil split, single coil in the neck, running through the pedals into a Fender 65 Deluxe Reverb with an SM57 on it, into my Neve 88M interface, and so no coloring of the sound. And I am running a studio a condenser mic. I'm running a condenser mic in the room just to kind of get some of the room sound to balance it out. What I'm really trying to do is not so much change the way it sounds in the room, but actually try to get it to sound as close to the room as possible. So that being said, let's start with the compressor. The compressor is very basic. Two controls. We have a compressor knob, and then we have the output gain. I love that they do output gain. I like compression a lot, and I like to set it at what's called unity gain. So for instance, that essentially what I'm doing is I'm setting it to where it's not boosting the amp. So you can use it to help. But, and the reason I like that is one of the things I like to do with the compressor is to kind of take off the chirp. So if you get that kind of What I like about that is you add more compression. Not only do you get a little more sustain, which is nice, especially on the single coil tone that I'm running now. Without it. Hear how you're biting in a little bit more, a lot more pick attack in the sound. So a compressor not only adds sustain, and it really can kind of, like I said, take some of that pick attack off. Definitely a great way to improve your sound. Because I feel like you can do a lot more bend. Hold on a little bit to it versus, you know, feeling it without it with the decay goes really fast. I feel like it's kind of more like a spring and less like this. Now, what's nice is the more compression you add, there's a light that tells you how much compression you're using. Cool feature, but where I use the compressor, the light really doesn't do a whole lot. So something to note about that. Overall, I like it. Without it. One thing I love to say about compressors is it's more for the chef and less for the patron. In other words, the audience isn't supposed to hear compression or no compression. Compression is supposed to help you with what you're doing musically so that you can convey your message to the audience. Like I always said, a gear is for the chef more so than anybody else. Next, we have the flanger. Interesting enough, I've never reviewed a flanger as I've never really enjoyed them. I've owned a few, including the Ibanez one, which I liked, but it's just never really my thing. This has got to be my favorite flanger I've ever played, and here's why. There's some features on here that I love. So what you have is dual flangers. You have two control lines here. You have manual, depth, and rate. They're two flanger pedals. They're not stackable. They're just both on. And what you have down here is a control that lets you blend, in other words, all of one. So if you just want one flanger, you just lean it to one side, or lean it to the other side for this flanger, or somewhere in the middle is both, and I'll tell you why that's cool. Over here to your right, you're going to have dry and wet. So let's turn it on. This is dry, no flange. And of course that was full flanger, and you can find the middle in the center. And what's great about that is that you have a clean signal going through, which is something I really like because I don't like how a flanger overtakes my sound. The other thing I really like is this added highs control. One of the reasons I don't like flangers is when I'm playing a humbucker, especially the neck, this is what it would sound like normally. To me, it gets a little muddy. I really like that. It's a really cool feature. So I like that. A lot of you probably wouldn't run it as bright as I do, but I run my rig sometimes a little dark, and this is nice to kind of get those highs back in there. There's a regen control right here, which is cool. And I want to get into what I think is cool about the dual flangers. So what I did to show it illustrated here is, if you see here, there's lights. I have the top flanger with the rate really fast. You can see it's strobing. And then on the bottom flanger, I have the rate halfway. So I'm going to show you, this is the bottom flanger sound. Sorry, top flanger. Let me do this again. Bottom flanger. Pretty. Very typical. If we go the other way, almost just weird. So what I like is, I'm going to run the top one not as fast. You can see it's strobing, but not as fast. And then what I want to do is I'm blending the top one. So the top one is, or should I say the bottom one is 80% of the sound and the top one is 20%. And now I can get this cool, like kind of mixed. So it's cool. So now the last pedal, which is the horse meat pedal. What we're gonna have is a gain control at the top, level, voice, treble, and bass. So very straightforward. Voice is gonna be definitely like a mid-focus kind of thing. That's what I got from it. Again, technically I don't know, is these new pedals and I don't have all the information on them, but going off what my ears kind of hear. One thing I will tell you is that when I think of the Klon, I definitely think of a low gain pedal, and I want to start with the max gain on this to show you how much gain. And I know some of you are going to go, well, wait, I use a Klon into an overdriven amp, you're running it into a clean amp. We're going to do the overdrive amp in a minute. So here it is. This is the horse meat, and on the bridge humbucker. So again, a little mid-focus there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the bass back a little bit. So kind of like the flanger pedal, I like the added highs. I like the voice pretty much to the trebly side. And I've backed off the bass quite a bit. This is why I say it's kind of weird as a pedal, because when I think of PRS guitars, I kind of think of them like Gibsons as having a fuller sound. Right now I'm running a single coil in the neck, and what you'll see is this has a lot of thickness to it. So, if that's how thick it sounds with the gain all the way, let's back the gain off. And that's where the pedal kind of comes to life. So I like that. And if we run the gain all the way down to the bottom, and again, that's really nice for that edge of clean breakup. So although it has heavy gain and it gets really thick, you can see it kind of does that cleanup thing. So what I have now is a Marshall 2061. It's a 20 watt plexi style amp. I'm running it into a 112 cabinet with a creamback, mic'd with the same SM57 mic into the Neve 88M. Let's run the gain a little bit, run the volume a little bit, and see what this takes us. Now, what I did now is I'm running it a little bit lower on the gain, and I'm running it still in the Marshall. I'm going to run ahead. This is the single coil neck pickup. Okay, so hopefully that's the 3 new Paul Reed Smith pedals. I say hopefully because I'm still not 100% sure that I'm not being punked. So that being said, where do I land on this? Like I said, I think all the assessments I gave it were how I really feel about it. My favorite is definitely the flanger of the three. I think because it's the most unique. It's a unique offering if you're looking for a cool flanger. This is large, but definitely something different. I haven't played a ton of flangers like it. I'm sure there's another flanger like it. There's another everything like it when it comes to pedals, but this one seems pretty fun and unique. Next, I would say the horse meat, because although it's a Klon-esque drive, it definitely is really big and kind of has this fuller sound to it. And of course, way more gain on tap. It's almost like using a fuzz and a Klon kind of together. And that's something new, at least to my ears. Especially, I think if you have a Strat, I think that's going to really be a way to make your Strat sound fat and huge. Compressor is a very good compressor. It's not going to pull me away from my Keeley compressor at this point. Overall aesthetic I thought was cool and the execution was good. And if this is totally fake and these are not real pedals, and I find out later after they release their videos, because that's when I'm allowed to release mine, is after theirs. Well, I'm sorry, everyone. I still like them though, so I guess maybe I'm the sucker. All right, guys, as always, I want to thank you so much for your time. To the next time, know your gear.